Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to talk about some issues that people with disabilities face every day. Um, One thing I've noticed is that there's a lot of places that are not wheelchair accessible or not wheelchair friendly. Um, I know this because yesterday I went to DQ for lunch in Fort St. John, and I had a really hard time getting in the doorway. Um, I've noticed that uh, the town where I live is not very wheelchair equipped. It's not very wheelchair friendly. Um, I've noticed this with the restaurants in town, the sidewalks, um, and I find it really frustrating. It feels like people don't really pay attention very well to disabled people. Um, and it's very annoying because it makes it hard for people like me to get around and get into places. Um, you know, I think that people need to, you know, when they build places, they need to take into consideration that there are some people who can't walk and need help getting into places, and it would help out a lot more if people would make their businesses more wheelchair friendly. Um, you know, when people um, definitely open their businesses, they don't think about how it's going to affect people like us or people, you know, disabled people in wheelchairs. Uh, I find it very, very annoying and frustrating that it's one thing that we face on a daily basis. Um, it's just, to me, it's not right. Um, I believe that people in Fort St. John should work harder to make businesses more accessible. And not just in Fort St. John, but everywhere in the world. They should learn to adapt places so that they're more wheelchair equipped. Um, I find people just don't think about us. We kind of get tossed to the wayside, you know, um, and that can also affect our moods, which causes our depression, making it worse. For me, anyway, I don't know about anybody else, but in my opinion, they need to work harder on making places more wheelchair friendly so that it's easier to get into doorways or get out of doorways without getting stuck or slamming your knee into a wall. Um, you know, I feel like in that sense, disabled people or people in wheelchairs are not as important. Like people don't listen to what we have to say about stuff, you know. they feel like we're not as important as somebody who can walk and who can, take care of themselves. But, we're people too, and we deserve to have the same quality of life as everybody else. Um, and I feel like personally in Fort St. John, we do not have that. We kind of are in a crappy town. Um, I personally believe that, they should try and make more of an effort for people in wheelchairs, make more of an effort to improve the quality of life. And stuff. I just find that people with disabilities kind of just get tossed to the side like trash, like even when it comes to, like, for instance, people building wheelchairs for us, the people who make the chairs kind of just want to force their opinions on what they think should be done on the chairs instead of listening to a person who actually sits in one. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. I feel like maybe disabled people are not as equal in society, not as respected as we should be, because we're just like everybody else, and we deserve to be treated exactly like everybody else. We deserve equality. We deserve the same respect. And yeah, we may be sitting in chairs and not able to walk, but we are just like everybody else. We go through the same crap as everybody else. We have to pay bills. We have to pay rent. We have to do all the same things that non-disabled or non-handicapped people, like we do the same things as non-disabled and non-handicapped people. So in my opinion, we deserve the same respect. We deserve the same generosity, we deserve to be treated as equal members of society. And I feel like when it comes to things like employment, or even, for instance, going out in public, because, people stare at you like you have two heads, and you don't. You're just sitting in a chair. You didn't ask for it. It's just what you have to deal with. Like, I don't know, I find it so ridiculous that we are treated so differently because we're not standing, we're sitting in a chair. I don't know how that makes us, any less important. like in my opinion, we all have the same rights. We all have the same, you know, we all have the same responsibilities, and we all deserve a chance at life, and we all deserve a chance at, respect and kindness, and to be treated the same. Um, I think people, when it comes to people with disabilities, people are ignorant. They're scared. Um, I think what it is they fear what they don't understand. And I think what it is they don't understand people with disabilities. They don't understand why we are the way we are. Like we're freaks of nature, and we're not. We're just plain ordinary people, just trying to live our lives like everybody else. And we just wanted to be treated equally. Um, I know for me personally, people have automatic assumptions about me. Like, you know, they assume because I'm in a wheelchair that I have to be, watched over 24/7. I can't be by myself, which is not true. I can stay by myself, uh, and I think one person that's always kind of instilled that in me is my mother. She always told me, like, you are just like everybody else. You know, um, don't ever let anybody treat you any different because you are just like everybody else and you deserve to be treated as such with the same respect. She always used to tell me just because you're in a wheelchair doesn't make you any different from anybody. you know. Um, and I have to say, I definitely agree with her on that. And you know, I hate it when people look at me funny or they say, "Oh, you shouldn't be doing this because you're disabled." And in my opinion, my disability has got nothing to do with it, nothing whatsoever. You know, and like I want people to stop being so ignorant and stop being so afraid of people in wheelchairs. We're not here to hurt anybody. We're here to live our lives like everybody else. We deserve to live our lives like everybody else. And I think everybody who listens to this will agree with me on that statement. And you know, like I find a lot of things in the town I live in, they're so lazy. Like they don't maintain the sidewalks for people in wheelchairs, which then requires us to go on the road because we have no other option. And then we get in trouble because we're on the road. And, you know, and all I have to say to people who are against us driving on the road, what would you like us to do? There's nothing we can do when the sidewalks are shit, and they are. They're total crap, and there are things in this town or wherever you live or wherever you're listening to this that need to change. People, we need to change how people view people with disabilities. We need to show people more respect. We need to show them that sure they're disabled, but they're human like everybody else. They don't deserve to be treated like some second class citizen or some piece of shit on the side of the road simply because they are disabled and they depend on people. It's not their fault. They didn't ask for it. I didn't ask for it. And it's people like people who judge us and stare at us. It's people like you that make us feel bad about ourselves. And I'm not saying this to be rude or mean or, just downright nasty. I'm saying it to be honest because it's the truth. It is the absolute truth. We need more respect and we need to be treated just like everybody else. We need to be treated as equals and we need people to understand that we will not stay silent anymore against the prejudiced behavior that goes against us all the time and the disrespect that we deal with on a daily basis. It's things like that cause us low self-esteem or cause us to be really, really depressed and down and really start to hate ourselves because people just assume that, oh, he's in a wheelchair, he can't do this, I may as well just do it for him. Well, no, if you do it for me, I'm never going to learn, or I should say we're never going to learn. We have to do things for ourselves, and if we fail, we try and we try again, and we keep on trying, and we don't stop trying until we succeed at achieving our goals. And I think that people with disabilities deserve to be treated with more respect than they get. And I think that people with disabilities should not be dismissed before they are even given a chance to prove themselves, to prove their potential, and to prove that they are worthy. Because we are worthy. I mean, it may take us a lot longer to do things, but eventually we get it done. It may take us a little time, or it may take us, a little while, but we get it done. And that's all that matters. It doesn't matter how fast you get things done. It just matters that you get it done. Like it just, it sickens me what people think about people with disabilities. And I honestly think that we honestly do not get shown enough respect the respect we deserve by certain people, you know. Um, like people just automatically assume that, just because you're in a wheelchair, you're not going to be able to work, or you're not going to be able to do this, or you're not, for instance, you're not going to be able to have sex simply because you're in a wheelchair. I got news for you. You're wrong. You are so wrong. Um, you know, people need to people need to stop and think before they say things. People need to think about what they say to a disabled person before they respond, instead of saying, "Ooh, that person's retarded," or "Ooh, that person can't do this," or "Ooh, that person can't do that," without, first giving them a shot and letting them at least try before you judge, and like somebody actually came up to me in the bar one time, and they actually told me I shouldn't be drinking beer simply because I was in a wheelchair, and I couldn't help but just give them a sideways look and think, what the hell have you been smoking? um, you know, and like, I think what people need to do is, instead of judging people like us right away, they should sit down and talk to us, you know, and, try and understand what it's like to spend a day in our shoes, and be in our shoes. Um, and, you know what? I challenge you guys to, spend a week in a wheelchair to see what it's like, see how hard it can get sometimes. Because, in my opinion, that's like the only way you're ever gonna, fully understand us and our perspective. Um, but yeah, you know, um, and I understand like there's some people that just can't understand or deal with someone in a wheelchair, or, you know, someone who's physically disabled. I'll use my father as an example. My dad was never able to handle the fact that he had a disabled son. Um, he didn't know how to deal with it. And you know what? God bless my mother for being able to deal with it. Um, you know, that is one strong woman. I'll tell you that right now. Um, she's amazing. She's helped me through a lot of stuff, and I thank her for it. You know, um, I wish there was like, some way to pay her back for all she's done, but there isn't. You know, you know, um, And if my mother listens to this podcast, I just want to say thank you for taking care of me all these years. I know it wasn't easy, but thank you very much. I love you. Um, you know, and I also kind of have to thank my dad as well, because one good thing about him did come out of him not being around, and that was it showed me what kind of man I didn't want to grow up to be. You know, if I ever have children, I will never treat my kids the way my father treats me, because it's not right. Um, you know, uh, but yeah, um, I hope that this podcast will change people's perspectives on people in wheelchairs, to show them that we are not so different. We deserve the same kind of equality as, non-disabled people. And, you know, there's not so much of a difference between disabled people and non-disabled people. On the inside, we all have the same color blood. We all have a heart. It's just up to the people to show it, that they have a heart, and that there are decent human beings out there. Um, you know, and yeah, um, and I think one thing I've discovered over the past little while is some people think it's easy to take advantage of someone in a wheelchair or someone who is disabled. Um, and in my opinion, that's not right. We don't deserve that. I mean, some of us are very gullible and very kind. Some of us are too kind, and sometimes that causes people to take advantage. I know it certainly has happened to me in some cases by people I cared about, um, people that I had blinders on when it came to them, um, you know, and I think that people in wheelchairs, we need to, when somebody's staring at us, or and we get mad or we get upset, we have to stop and think, is this really worth getting pissed off about? Um, I know sometimes I have gotten mad about things that were actually not that important to get mad about, or there was no reason for it. Um, you know, like, we deserve um, or I should say we don't have to get mad at people when they do something to us. We just have to take the mistakes we make as a lesson learned and move on and, try to, not repeat the same mistakes, um, and try not to um, be so gullible um, when it comes to people. And after things I've had happen to me by, an ex-girlfriend, um, I kind of, I'm kind of hesitating on trying to date anybody again, and it's understandable. And I just for me, I find myself, uh, I fall for people. I tend not to see uh, past their little persona that they are portraying, uh, and I tend to, you know, get used by girls, and and then I feel like a dumbass afterwards. And I think that I don't know. I think that people like me need to be more careful when it comes to certain things, like choosing a romantic partner or a relationship. Um, you know, but if I could just jump back onto my original topic and say, there's a lot of places in my hometown where it's not really wheelchair friendly. There's Subway, there's um, Wendy's, there's Dairy Queen, there's um, the slushy place. Um, there's quite a few places in this town that they need to fix. And it's not just the businesses they need to fix. They need to fix things like where the positioning is of the button for the lights are, because some of those buttons people in wheelchairs can't reach, which unfortunately forces us to jaywalk across the street. And I know that's not safe, but it's pretty much my only way to get across some of the streets in town. Um, you know, and yeah, and from my own personal experience, I've tipped my wheelchair over because of the terrible sidewalks, because they're broken or they're slanted or my wheel gets caught and I tip, and it's very risky, not just for me, but for other people in wheelchairs, such as myself in this town. Um, and I think like the city of Fort St. John, the city council, or somebody in Fort St. John needs to make a change. And if nobody else is willing to do it, well, then I guess it's my job to try. Um, and I'm going to do the best I possibly can. Um, you know, I'm going to try and make a difference in this world for people like me. Somebody who will stand up, um, stand up to them, or stand up for them, and say like things need to change, or this needs to change. Um, things need to get better, and they do. They need to get better. Um, there needs to be more accessibility. There needs to be better positioning of the buttons for the lights in Fort St. John. Um, you know, there just needs to be a way better system for people like me. Uh, you know, and and that's another reason why I started this podcast. I wanted to voice my opinion. I wanted to speak up and be heard, and I wanted people to know that there is one person who is not afraid to say something, and I'm hoping that this episode will bring that to light. Um, you know, uh, yeah, and for me, it's just if nobody else is gonna stand up and do this, then I guess I have to be the one who's going to. Um, and I hope that whoever listens to this message will, take what I've said and, like talk to city council or whoever's in charge around here and say, like, look, this needs to change, and this needs to change, and this needs to change, and not just stand idly by anymore and put up with it. There needs to be actual change and actual consequences for the city's actions. Um, I think I'm making some very valid points here. Um, and I hope whoever listens to this episode will see that. And, yeah. And there just, there needs to be a lot of change done in this town. Somebody's got to do something about it. And, um, and you know, and it's sad that people don't take our opinions into account when it comes to stuff like this. People don't think about how it's going to affect people with disabilities because they don't care. And, um, yeah. Um, so, I'd just like to say before I end this episode, I'd like to say a huge thank you to my audience and for listening and tuning in. I hope that you're enjoying this podcast, and I hope you personally enjoyed this episode. I'm sorry I didn't touch on depression a little bit more this episode, but I kind of wanted to go towards the this disability aspect side of things, and yeah. Anyway, I hope people will enjoy this, and I will see you next time. Until next time, this is Kelly Clark saying peace out.